What is up, everybody? Happy Tuesday night to all of you. And it is good to be back doing another live stream here on Drums and Drams. We got another Tuesday Tastealong this evening. This is the 5th Tuesday Tastealong. And I decided because we weren't able to do this last week, I figured we would do a double header tonight to kind of make up for that. So that is what we have this evening. As you guys saw in the thumbnail, the two bottles we're going to be taking a look at this evening, Evan Williams Bottled and Bond and Old Granddad Bottled and Bond. Two budget pours. You know, I figured this would be some really accessible stuff for us to taste together. So before we get into it here, before I give you a couple of like beginning announcements or just some information about this week and, you know, what's going to happen on the channel, go ahead and grab your bottles of these two if you have them. Grab yourself 2 glasses, preferably 2 of the same glass. Glassware is definitely an important part of what we do. And get yourself those things poured. Get something in the glass right now to warm up with. And then we're going to get into it. It's going to be probably about 30 minutes tonight of tasting, especially because we do have 2 bottles. And then get you guys onto the Junkie stream as long as they are going live at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So that's that. Let me say hello to a few people in the chat. I know because we didn't go live last week, there will be a little bit of attrition in terms of viewership tonight. I'm anticipating last week or 2 weeks ago, we had like 100 people in here for the Tuesday Tastealong. I don't think we're going to get that tonight, but who knows? Maybe we will. We'll just kind of see what happens. But the algorithm doesn't favor inconsistency. So Jay, what is up, man? Good to see you. Jake McKee, Tom Snyder, and Cheech says, holy graphics, Batman. I know. Yeah, and it might be a little overdone, but I thought a cool thing to do for the Tuesday Tastealong would be to totally differentiate it from regular live streams and have information all around. You know what I mean? So, I mean, this stuff is kind of just for show, labels. But over here, there's like some good relevant information that I can make for each individual tasting. So, you know, hopefully it's not too much. Daniel only has the Old Granddad, but I'll play along with that one at least. Before I go any further, guys, I just want to say cheers to you. Hope you're having a good week. I know it's early in the week. I'll see you all again on Thursday night for the stream. Talk about that in just a second. But I'm warming up right now with a little bit of Benchmark Bonded. In the theme of Bottled and Bond tonight, that's the warm-up pour. So, cheers, guys. All right. That might be my favorite of the Benchmark line, and I'm going to be reviewing that soon. The Bourbon Junkies, I know, have done all of the benchmarks recently, and I think Bonded is probably the favorite of just about everybody I've talked to. A lot of people like Foolproof, but I really like the Bonded. Isn't the bottle glass, it says JG? That's hilarious. Oh, no Junkies tonight. I can go long. Don't tell me that. I'll go a little long maybe then. You know, I won't hold myself totally to 9 p.m., but we'll see. For those of you watching the replay, if you are watching this after the fact, thank you for hanging out. Hit that like button. If you're hanging out live, also hit that like button. We're going to have a fun little tasting here as we get more people. And the like button pressing will get more people in here. Okay. I'm rusty, guys. It's been 2 weeks. Good evening, Derek. Good to see you. Will Barrett, we see that monster bottle to your right. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second, Will. Top Dog's in here. That's awesome. Matt Porter says, go long. Matt, you want to go? Matt, you want to jump on? Dude, you should jump on. We should. I could cut the Tuesday Tastealong and restart a new stream, and we could just do a fucking live stream tonight. Pardon my French. We should just do a live stream tonight. Why not, man? You should jump on with me. I don't know. I'll think about it as we go through this evening. So, last couple of things here before we get to the tasting. I have it written down on my phone now. Yeah, sorry. Last week, guys, crazy busy week. The channel was just dead in the water. Sorry about that. I had work conflicts every night of the week, so I couldn't go live. Tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. For my patrons, we are doing a Patreon-only live stream at 7:30 p.m. And the real kicker of that patron-only live stream is this bottle right here. So let me give you a little close-up. Okay. Let's get that camera to focus. Please, camera, please focus for me. Well, you can see what it is. It's Bardstown Bourbon Company Chateau de la Baude Batch 2. I'm going to do my first tasting of this tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. for my patrons only. So they're going to get a first look. I think I will be talking about this on Thursday's live stream as well. but I just wanted to call that out for my patrons. It's going to be fun tomorrow night, 7:30. And then Thursday night's live stream is going to be awesome. Normal time, 8 p.m. Probably going to be over 2 hours long, I would imagine. And I have a lot of samples here. Toshi Bake from the live chat sent me 4 Willet Purple Top samples, 6, 9, 11, and 12 years old. He sent Heaven Hill 17, a 1971 Stitzelweller Old Fitz, and a 1969 President's Choice. And then Tim Evans from the chat sent me a Smoke Wagon Special Release Rye Batch D to compare up against a Rossville Barrel Proof. So Dusties, Unicorns, everything's happening Thursday night. And then obviously tomorrow, Chateau de la Baude 2 for my patrons. It's gonna be a lot of fun this week. Matt could jump on in like an hour. Dude, do you want to do it? Shoot me a message, shoot me a text or an Instagram if you want to do it, because I'll that was not on the cards, but I'll do it if you want to, man. All right, let's get into this tonight. Let's go ahead and start. I'm gonna go with the Evan Williams first. Okay, now I only did this because of price point. We can see the stats of these whiskeys. Bottled to bond, obviously 100 proof, 50% ABV. They're from one single distillery, from a single distillation season. You don't really know what that season is from the bottles. You don't really know exactly how old it is, although all the juice is the exact same age because it is from the same distillation season. At least 4 years old for both of these. They're not stated anything above that. Here's the price breakdown. Evan Williams, $20. OGD bonded, $25. So we're going to start with the cheaper. All right, we're going to start with Evan Williams, which is a perennial favorite for so many people. And then mashes down here. We have over twice as much rye in the Old Granddad mash as we do Evan Williams. So we might expect something a little bit spicier, stuff like that. I'm drinking tonight out of a Ben Ewan glass, which is a glass suggested to me by somebody in the live chat a few weeks ago. I went ahead and bought these, and this is their maiden voyage tonight. So let's see how this all ends up going. So I'll check in with the chat as we go. But guys, let's go ahead and start with Evan Williams Bottled and Bond. Let's check it out on the nose together. Ooh, sweet right away. Yeah, just almost like cane sugar sweetness on the nose. It's just classic, really nice bourbon caramel. Caramelized sugars going along with that kind of cane sugar note, you know. A good amount of like vanilla icing in this. It smells way better than I remember it. I've got to be honest with you. There is something a little bit sappy about this. I don't know exactly how to characterize it yet. Let me know if you guys are getting this. It's not 100% a young note, but there's something kind of green and sappy. Not herbal, but sappy. I don't know if that really checks out, but I might be crazy. We're going to keep going. Zach Jones, what's up? It's the 2022 Matt Madness champion. And soon to be 2023 Matt Madness champion. After watching the way Shook is doing on Poor Guesses, guys, I think 2023 is in the bag. I got to be honest with you. Yeah, this is just a caramel bomb. Caramel for days. A little bit of maple in here. And the one thing I don't get a lot of on this Evan Williams Bottled to Bond, I don't get like a distinctly fruity note to this. At least not yet. I think I'm gonna go side by side with the Old Granddad. Sometimes when you do a side by side like this, stuff starts to pop out that you don't get otherwise because that comparison really brings it out of the other whiskey. But yeah, it smells older than I would imagine it is on this Evan Williams. Some chocolate notes. And just a good amount of like overall oak spice. I dig it. I really dig the nose on that. And it feels thick and rich on the nose. That means, to me, I'm expecting a pretty nice and viscous kind of palate experience, all right? Before I taste it, you know, I think sometimes if I taste it and then go to the next one and start nosing, I'm out of whack, I'm confused. So I like to nose these things side by side before I taste either one of them. So I'm going to go on to the Old Granddad now. Let me check out the chat, guys. Robotic it says, just got back from Kentucky. Nightmare of a trip, but salvaged it by picking up a signed Labaude 2 and Lux Row 12. Nice pickup on both of those. At least on the Luxro 12. Spoiler alert. Let me know if you've cracked the Labad. I'm not going to give it away till I talk to my patrons tomorrow night, and then the live stream Thursday night on the channel, but yeah. Don't know. Let's see. What else we got in the chat? Daniel P. says, I haven't had an Evan Williams bottled and bond in a couple years, but I remember a lot of cinnamon on it. That's interesting. Yeah, I guess there is some cinnamon there, but it's not sticking out to me. It seems nicely woven in, and it's actually getting a little more cherry. Even just going back to it there a second time, I'm getting a little kind of a cherry syrup note. And it's not too bright either. It's really nice. All right, so let's go on now to the Old Granddad. I'm curious about the color on these. Pretty comparable. The Evan Williams might be just a hint darker, but very comparable in the color. Yeah, the Granddad Bonded is much thinner on the nose. Are you guys picking that up too? Kind of like lemon oil. Definitely peanut shells on this one on the nose. And almost a cardboard note on the Old Granddad. Like, yeah, kind of like that dry cardboard smell. It's woodier, but in a really kind of bright, raw wood, young, you know, the kind of wood that I don't like in my whiskey necessarily. The stuff that you get a lot of on like toasted barrel stuff these days. Everybody's doing a toasted barrel. They're all getting too woody, too spicy. It's not quite to that level, but the Old Granddad has more of that kind of oak, whereas the Evan Williams is in the sweet oak territory, I would say, and more integrated on the Evan Williams. Old Granddad feels like the oak is adding a spicier element, but all of it's kind of sticking out a little bit too much. Huh. Mark Vasco, what's up, man? Mark likes the taste-along options for today. Good. I'm glad. I chose some really accessible and low-price budget bottles for today. Hoping that would be good. Toshi, what's up, man? Hey, I just told everybody a couple minutes ago that I'm going to taste all the whiskeys you sent me on tomorrow night's live stream. 4 Willet Purple Tops, 71 Stitzelweller, 69 President's Choice, and a Heaven Hill 17. Good Lord, dude. You're too freaking generous. I'm telling you. Thank you, Travis. Yeah, guys, please hit that like button for the 50 of you in here. I'm glad to have 50 after taking a week off, so that's amazing. Thank you guys for hanging out tonight. You still do get some lighter, light, kind of airy. Does that make sense? Like light and delicate, I guess. Airy, vanilla kind of notes on the Old Granddad. Evan Williams felt a little bit more of a decadent vanilla. So overall, this Old Granddad to me is just kind of lighter and thinner. Not to any real benefit is the way I would put it. Like if it's a lighter and thinner thing, but it's got more fruitiness, or there's a certain note that I really like that sticks out a little bit more, I'm down with it. But this just seems like it's just not quite up to the richness of the Evan Williams. But it is spicier, I think. Would you guys agree with that? I don't know. All right. You know what? Let's go back to the Evan Williams. And let's get this thing on the palate. Quick nose and then get onto the palate for the Evan Williams. Oh my God. It is a little more reserved on the nose than the Old Granddad. Not quite the level of spice, but that sweetness is great. All right, here we go. Cheers, guys. Ooh. First sip, pretty intense. A little spicier than I thought it was going to be. I only had a little bit of whiskey to warm up with tonight, so that was almost like a first sip moment where my eyes are watering. Wow. Kind of shorter on the finish side. It's already kind of gone away. The spice is still tingling, but the actual flavors of the whiskey are definitely long gone at this point. That's not a bad thing. I mean, it's a $20 bottle. kind of in line with being 100 proof, maybe a little on the short side in the finish. What are you guys picking up on this Evan Williams nose and palate? Let me know in the live chat. Daniel P says, can't compare the noses, but the Old Granddad has a nice nose. This was a fresh crack too. Interesting. If it's a newer bottle, I've had mine for probably 3 years now, so I would be curious maybe on a newer batch. Paul P says, never could come around to liking Old Granddad bottled in bond, but I've always liked the Evan Williams. I'm kind of in that camp, Paul, but I was thinking tonight might help me further explore that, refute, or confirm. Oh, Tim Evans, are you in here? Dude, Tim Evans, thank you so much for those samples, too. I cannot wait to try them tomorrow night. The Smoke Wagon I'm very excited about. And to see how it stacks up against Rossville. So, this is awesome. Tim and Toshi both in here. Kilko can't stay long. Currently in Baltimore Airport waiting on my next flight. Kilko, hope you had a good time down there at the ball, man. All right, back to Evan Williams. It's getting a little nuttier as I sip it. A little nuttier, a little more gritty in its texture. It felt decadent, smooth, rounded out when I was nosing it. Every subsequent sip, it's not getting worse, but it is changing a little bit. That one was definitely a little bit grittier on the texture. But nothing, in my mind, nothing bitter about that Evan Williams. I think that's a super solid whiskey for $20. And, you know, value-wise, you can't really argue with it. So let's go on to the Old Granddad now. Just checking my text to see if... I don't know if Matt Porter's still hanging out in here or not. By the way, these glasses, guys, these Ben Ewan glasses, I like these a lot. Usually stemmed glassware like this with a little bit of a smaller bulb, at least what seems to be smaller, maybe shorter, tend to like these things for Scotch more, but this has this flared lip. There's not too much ethanol on these 100 proofers. So, you know, jury's still out on this, but I'm going to use these tomorrow night as well. I only have 2 of them for some higher proof stuff, maybe the Heaven Hill 17 from Toshi, and see how these glasses do. They're not cheap. They're like $40 a piece. So it's hard to recommend a glass that expensive regardless, but I am going to be curious to kind of see how these continue working with different kinds of whiskeys, different proofs, etc. Yeah, Old Granddad, really lemony, really citrus heavy, which you're going to get from that 27% rye, as you can see down here in the mash bill. But the corn grain notes are a little too much for me. It's just feeling younger than the Evan Williams. My wife just texted me and told me, don't stay on too long. If you're watching this, babe, my notifications are not silenced, so don't text me. It dings in my ear. It's very loud. All right, let me try this Old Granddad. Cheers. Woo! That's a little sharp, that Old Granddad. Spicy cardboard. Light caramel, cardboard, cinnamon spice, white pepper. Yeah. Ooh, bitter peanut shell on the back end. Whew. I don't know if I'm a fan of that. There's a reason this bottle has lasted so long in this house. Gosh, yeah, the back end right now is really spicy, and there's a long finish, but to me, it's super bitter. That's maybe my biggest issue with this thing at this point. Whew, not that pleasant. Yeah, Joe, the spice on that Old Granddad is intense, and it right now in the back of the throat, it is just hanging out. It's not dying down. Toshi, Cam said he hasn't had any purple tops, so wanted to send a fun flight and see how his palate, which is much better than... Well, that's debatable. Yeah, I'm curious to see about the purple tops, especially the different ages, and I don't know the sourcing on them. So, Toshi, if you know anything about the sourcing, don't tell me yet, but tomorrow night, maybe after I taste them, I would love to know If you have any information or anybody in the chat knows these barrel numbers and what the sources would be on them, I really want to figure that out. But I'd like to see, like, I don't know who they source from or if it's their own distillate or whatever, but I would love to see if some of the characteristics that I pull out of them line up with the sources if we have that information. Wow, yeah, this is pretty clear for me in terms of drinking these things neat. I can see the argument as to why somebody would like the Old Granddad Bonded, especially in a cocktail. Super spicy, high rye content, gonna hold up to mixers. I can see it over ice too. Excuse me, with that level of intensity. But drinking these things neat, it feels like the more sweet, integrated, complex pour is the Evan Williams. Complex maybe is a little bit of a stretch, but sweet and integrated, 100%. I think this thing works very well together from front to back. So I'm going to take another sip of that one. Yeah, that's just so... That just goes down smooth. I hate that word, but seriously, that's an enjoyable sip in bourbon. If there was a bottle that I was going to take somewhere, share with 4 people, crush the whole bottle in one sitting, it's going to be something like this. Especially when you're thinking about budget. $20. That's incredible. Daniel says, new bottle of Old Granddad for me. No citrus or bitterness at all. I'm gonna smell and taste this again. Lots of good spice, caramel and brown sugar, tiny bit nutty, long spicy finish. Yeah, the finish for sure. Brown sugar is interesting. Let me check that out one more time. Okay, I can see some brown sugar on that for sure. That flavor kind of goes along with a little bit of a drier profile for me. Spicier, drier profile. You get more of that like brown sugar baking spice thing going on. That makes sense. Yeah, but right there on the back end now, it's turning bitter. I don't know what it is. I wonder, Sarah is sipping along these exact 2 bottles in the other room. I wonder if she's getting the same thing. Power of suggestion. Let me check out the chat, guys. Let me know what you think of these two. And if you had the choice, are there any... Let me ask this. Are there any Old Granddad fans in the house? Anybody that prefers Old Granddad over the Evan Williams? That's really what I want to know, because I'm so firmly in the camp of the Evan Williams Bonded that I'm curious if you are doing this comparison or if you know you love this stuff. What is it about the Old Granddad that you love? That's what I want to know. So... Travis asks, I know tonight's tasting is just these 2, but how would you rank the Benchmark Bonded if these were a flight? So I have that over here. This is the warm-up pour for those of you just now jumping in the stream. The Benchmark, to me, like, it just smells so young. I know there's a lot of hype about some of these Benchmarks, the Foolproof and the Bonded, and I guess Shook likes the top floor, you know? I think when you do those as a comparison in a lineup, you can find some nuance between them. But when you put it next to anything else, even in the category, like this Evan Williams, the Benchmark just smells so artificially sweet. And it's like some sort of sweet cereal, kind of like a honey nut Cheerios. But then you just poured like aspartame on the top, some sort of really fake sweetener taste. And it kind of makes me sick to my stomach, honestly. I have a hard time with fake sugar, fake sweeteners. Gives me a headache. And this reminds me of Ancient Age all the way. I mean, when you start drinking it, it gets a little bit better, but the nose is like, ooh, I don't know if I can do that. All right, so let's see. Daniel says, sounds like my newer batch might be better than your 3-year-old one. Yeah, that might... And because it is bonded, you know, it's going to be a completely different barrel dump. And possibly a different age. You never know. Travis says, I'm with you between them both, Evan Williams. Now at higher proof, I can enjoy the Old Granddad. Maybe the 114. Yeah. And that's the thing. If you think about the market, I don't know that Heaven Hill has a comparable I got to think about this. Do they have a comparable product to Old Grandad 114? Because I think Old Grandad 114 occupies a really interesting place in the market as a $30 bottle, generally. 114 proof, at least 4 years old. It's a straight bourbon, non-age stated, but there's no age statement below 4 years, so it's at least 4 years old at 114 proof. I'm trying to think of like a Heaven Hill product that compares to that. I can't think of one. And the only thing from Buffalo Trace actually now is the Benchmark Full Proof. A little bit of a higher proof at 125, but price point is right around that same area as Old Grandad 114. So I haven't thought about that too much, but it's interesting, and maybe that's why Old Grandad 114 is such a go-to for a lot of people, because there's nothing really like it. You even look at like 1920, that's twice the price for the same proof. So let's see. Joe prefers the Old Grandad over Evan Williams. Evan Williams has a funk. That's funny that you say that, Joe, because earlier I was thinking to myself, like, there seems to be like a little oakiness in here that I had never picked up on this before. Yeah, I can see what you mean. To me, it's not. It's a funkiness, but it's also really sweet because it's so young. So it's not quite to that level of funk if it was, 8 years old or whatever, but interesting. Grandad is top dog's choice. I like the spiciness better. So a lot of people are into the Old Grandad because of the spiciness, and to me, the spiciness is good, but it's not supported by enough of a base dark flavor, and maybe that's just subjective for me. And that bitterness on the back end. I also have a total aversion to peanuts in my whiskey at this level of peanuttiness. Daniel P., this is a great point. The Old Grandad 114 and Benchmark Full Proof are about the best value in high proofs. I can't think of an argument against that. Travis, okay. Sorry, you guys are having a side convo there. Yeah, so look, for me, I'm going to go Evan Williams on this, especially given the price point. I know it's $5. When you get into this like $20, $25 bourbon category, it's funny how, like, if I were to base this whole argument on the fact that Evan Williams is $5 cheaper, I feel like that's just a disservice to the bourbon. I think a lot of people these days, we are seeing price inflation. I'm not going to go on a tangent here, I promise. But I think we're seeing so much of an inflation, we are getting used to higher prices across the board. And a lot of us are placing big emphasis on value. But at some point, you do have to pay some money for a bottle of bourbon. For 25 1-ounce pours per bottle, if it's $20 or $35, the per pour price is not that much of a difference. So to me, it's like $20 to $60. That's obviously a big gap. But 20 to 25, 20 to 30 to 35, these are all, in my mind, in the kind of same category. And truthfully, under $20, you can't expect to find something that's going to really wow you. To me, like the Evan Williams Bottle and Bond is really freaking good at $20. And when you start going below this, it gets a little dicey down there. Jay, Cameron, no, I cut it off. I cut off the rant, I promise. So, guys, before I jump off here, I want to say a few things. First and foremost, these glasses, the flared lip at the top, I don't remember who recommended these to me a few weeks ago in a live stream. And if you're in here, if you watch this replay, please remind me that it was you, because I didn't pronounce it correctly. It's Ben Ewan, and I'll put it in the chat here how it's spelled. Ben Ewan. So it looks like Ben Ewan, but it's Ben Ewan. And somebody that writes for maltreview.com created these glasses. It's a pretty high cost thing to make. If you go and read about his R&D process and who he works with to get these things created. So they are expensive, but with the flared lip, one thing that's interesting is that the way that the whiskey falls onto your tongue when you are taking a sip, it spreads immediately. With a glass like this, with a focused lip at the top, the whiskey comes straight down the middle of your tongue. And with the flare, it spreads out and it coats the palate immediately and better. So I really like that. The other thing about the flared lip is that it dissipates a lot more of the ethanol. Now, when you look at the Irish whiskey glass, the Tua glass, that also has the flared lip, that one is a much deeper glass. And when I nose out of that thing, I feel like I can't even smell the whiskey. With this, it's a little bit of a shallower size, shallower shape on the bowl. And with that flared lip, I think it's a great nosing experience. The one issue with these glasses is that the stem is so dainty. You can break this thing extremely easily. So I have to be careful as I wash these. But I've got to say, if you're in the market for some high-end stemware for your whiskey, this is actually a really cool glass. I've got to be honest with you. So, Zach Jones says, jump off. We still have 3 hours left. Zach Jones, this is what I was going to ask. I wanted to ask you guys, do you think I should jump off here and restart up a live stream and have a hang? And, if Matt Porter jumps on, we could do that. Or should I hold off and wait till Thursday night? I know the Junkies aren't live tonight, so maybe I could do a stream, impromptu stream. I don't know what I would do, just drink whiskey and shoot the shit with you guys. Let me know what you think about that. Because I think, in terms of Tuesday Tastealong, I think we're done and dusted here. Let's see, guys. Gary Franchi, what is up, man? Dude, Gary Franchi, that freaking that 8-year wheat whiskey that you had at the Junkies meetup, I still think about that thing. I was thinking about that the other day. Jake says hang. Joe says hang. JG says Thursday. Here's the deal. If I jump on a stream, I would love to get somebody else on with me to hang out instead of just doing a solo stream. Top Dog says I'm in to start a new stream. Bruzel says, I just got here and it sounds like we're all done. Bruzel, I might restart a new stream so I can leave this Tuesday Tastealong as its own separate video for people to watch the replay and then start up my own stream after this since the Junkies aren't going to go live. Tim Evans, Old Ezra price increase. What's the price increase, Tim? Top Dog says you got me for an hour. Okay. All right. Let me make a decision real quick. Let me text my wife and make sure it's okay with her. I'm going to say, hey, I love you so much. Can I hang out with my friends tonight? That's what I'm going to text her. Man, Tom, I don't know if I can talk about the Chateau de la Botte. I wanted to talk to my patrons about it first tomorrow night. Unless there's enough public pressure to do it. All right. Maybe I can start a new stream in like 10 minutes. Get things reset here real quick. Come back and do it. Ghost Piper's hanging. Bruzel's hanging. Can I go out and play, says Daniel. That's exactly it. All right, well, if I start a new stream, guys, we can work together on what we're going to be talking about. Sweet. All right, well, let's do a quick blend. Let's do Evan Williams and Old Granddad Bonded. Yeah, Top Dog, I'm going to keep the Bardstown for the patrons. I got to do that. So this is Old Granddad Evan Williams blend. That didn't work. Oh, it worked in the mid palate, the front of the palate. It was like I was literally tasting two completely different things, and then it came together in the mid palate. All right, guys. Hey, I'm gonna pop off the stream. I will be back in 10 minutes, 9:15. I'll just start a stream. There's not going to be a thumbnail. I'm just going to go live straight away, and I can add a thumbnail to it later. I have no idea what we're going to be doing tonight. Toshi, maybe I can drink some of your samples tonight. Like maybe I could tackle the 2 Dusties, so that way tomorrow night I don't have to drink like 12 whiskeys, or Thursday night. Maybe I can do like your Dusties and maybe Tim Evans stuff, and then Thursday night I can really focus on the Willets, the Chateau de la Botte, and some other stuff. I'll think about it in the next 10 minutes. What do you think, Toshi? All right. All right, guys. I'm out of here. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Cheers.